This is just a really unique chart that shows you how close we are to the halving event. You really can't even tell. Like the very bottom right-hand corner shows you that, yeah, we got just a few months left, okay, before the halving event. And you'll notice that after the halving event, if you look on top and you look at the chart, there's a lot of things going on. I don't know what the other lines are, but the main thing is to look at what happens after a halving event. The parabolic rises, right? And that's 3 months away. 3 months away, guys. We're very, very, very close. That's why this pattern is repeating. So when in doubt, zoom out, right? Because right now, even though it seems like we had a catastrophic drop, not really. When you zoom out, you realize, well, yeah, obviously we had much bigger drops. And we have come up very, very fast, right? But when you zoom out, it barely registers. And it's a stopping point, okay? It's a consolidation point before we go much, much higher. Much, much higher. It happened in 2020. In fact, you know what? Right before the halving event in 2020, we had the worst catastrophic drop probably right before a halving event. We had that COVID drop, right? That was not Bitcoin related. That was entire world related. That was when Bitcoin fell from 11,000 all the way down below 4,000. That was a catastrophic drop. And after that drop, I remember at that time, because I was streaming, very little people were watching me back then. People did not believe that we were going to repeat the same pattern as the 2017 pattern. People thought that Bitcoin was dead, that Bitcoin was going to go down to $1,000. Did that happen? No. Look at the V-shaped bounce that we had back in 2020. And then we continued forward, and then we started going up. Now, the thing about 2020 is after the halving event, it took a while for Bitcoin to go up parabolically, right? It didn't happen until November, and the halving event in 2020, I believe, was in May. So it did take a few months before we saw that parabolic rise. But nevertheless, it happened when everyone thought that it was impossible because Bitcoin fell down to below $4,000, $3,800 to be exact. But it still happened. This time around, I don't think we had to wait that long because we have so many good catalysts that are happening and already happened. So I think it's going to be according to clockwork. But we'll see. But again, when in doubt, zoom out. You realize we're just doing the same thing as before. Nothing has changed. Even though we have a little dip, a little volatility. On the grand scheme of things, it's nothing, and you're not going to even remember in a year or maybe even 6 months or maybe even in a week. As for short-term TA, if you look at, hey, this is a very common pattern that people look at, head and shoulders, or maybe in this case inverse head and shoulders. This is on the 1 hour chart, and on the 4 hour chart you got a MACD bullish crossover. So both of these are pretty good, indicating a reversal is happening, right? I said last night maybe that 38.4, 38.3 was the bottom. We'll see. Only time will tell. But today we are going higher, breaking above 40,000. Here's another one. On a longer scale, you see this bullish hammer happening. RSI is very oversold. We filled a CME gap at 39K. These are all very bullish TA signs that show that Bitcoin is on its way up. But you know what? Here's the thing. When in doubt, zoom out. You know, short term, we have a lot of movement, a lot of volatility, but long term, this is why I say the longer you hold, the more you make, because that's just really it. Here's another chart that shows the percentage gain right before a halving event. So you had 100x, 40x, 9x this time estimated, maybe 6x. 6x. That would bring us to about 240,000. Maybe we have a 5x, so it'd be 200,000. Or maybe we have a 7x that'll bring us to like 280,000. We don't know. But we're right at the cusp, right before the halving event, right before the 100x, 40x, 9x, right? 6x. So again, don't fear yourself out. Don't FUD yourself out. Don't let anyone else FUD you out either, right? This is the time to stay strong and stay focused and look forward to the future. But I like to remind you guys, I've been saying this for a while. This is a good breakdown of the entire supply for Bitcoin and how much is held by retail investors, individual. Satoshi, himself, or they sell, I mean, you know, the group or individual, who knows. You got a large number that are lost, large number of Bitcoins lost. And then you got the fund managers, the companies like MicroStrategy, like, and then you got governments and DeFi, right? That's holding it. You could see the unmined is very little, right? Going from here on out to 2140, there will be very little being released. It's almost insignificant compared to the overall amount. If you think about it, it's true. We're closing into 20 million overall to 21 million. So that last million is being spread out for like 100+ years. So whatever's coming out is very insignificant versus what's here. But the companies and the funds portion, that's growing really fast. But those buckets are growing really, really fast. Okay. So again, retail is leading the way, as it should, when it comes to Bitcoin. It was created by the people for the people. You want to make sure you take up as much of this square as you can before the funds portion, the green portion, starts eating away at everything else, because that's what's happening right now. Within just 8 days of trading, they have accumulated over 100,000 Bitcoins within just a single week. So make sure you don't get fudded out. Make sure you're not transferring your Bitcoin to these guys. The good thing is, when we're measuring long-term holders, okay, 70% long-term holders that's been holding at least 1 year, 1+ year, could be 2 years, 5 or 10 years, whatever it may be, the long-term holder percentage is still growing above 70%. It's near all-time high. Okay, so that is good. Retail that's in the space are definitely not leaving, but the newcomers, the ones that have gotten in with the last month or so, right, they may have left. But we know, the long-term holders know, that the winning strategy is just to hold on DCA. The longer you can do it, the more you make. That's really it. The people that got in very, very early, 2010, 2011, 2012, they're the billionaires of the world, right? And then a little bit later, the 13s to 17s to 20s, right? They're the multimillionaires of the world. So the longer you hold, the more you make. That's it. But this is part of the fundamentals, the growing fundamentals of Bitcoin. The holders, the number of Bitcoin being held by the holders and the number of holders are both increasing, all-time high, despite the fact that the price is not at all-time high. So take a second to think about that.